Day 7 of Advent of Cyber. Let's dive into the storyboard to understand what's happening in the city of Wereville and what are our objectives of today. The story. Christmas preparations are delayed. Hopsec has breached our QA environment and locked us out. Without it, the best festival company projects can't be tested, and our entire SOC mass pipeline is frozen. To make things worse, the server is slowly transforming into Twisted East Mus node. Can you uncover Hopsek's trail? Find a way back into the best festive company dev QA01 and restore the server before bunnies take over it complete. For this task, you will need to check every place to hide every open ports that bunnies left unprotected. Good luck. I guess these are the scary bunnies which are trying to play mischiefs on the sock mus. So, learning objectives: learn the basic of network service discovery with Nmap, learn core network protocols and concepts along the way, apply your knowledge to find a way back into the server. And we have to turn on two machines, which I've already done. So, let's go down to discover network services. Discovering exposed services. Although we lost access to the QA server, at least it's still active and we know its IP address. That's good news since we can now counterattack and hopefully find our way back. Ensure you understand basic networking concepts like network ports and let's plan the engagement. Know your target. In our case, it's the best festive company dev QA01 server with the IP address that is shown there. Scan the IP for open ports, especially common ones like port 22 and port 80 for SSH and HTTP. Explore what's behind the open ports. Maybe it's a vulnerable web server running on port 80. Exploit the exposed service. Find a way back. Find a way in, and kick out the bad bunnies from the QA server. Along the practical of today's task, you will find three keys. Keep note of them since you will later need them for the web app. The format will be key name, then two quotes, the semicolon or the colon, then key. The simplest port scan. There are many tools you can use for to scan for open ports, from pre-installed Netcat on Linux and PowerShell on Windows to specialized powerful tools like Nmap and Nabu. Let's use Nmap for this task and perform a basic scan from the attack box or your own VPN connected attacking machine. Open a new command line terminal and run the following command. For that, let's increase the screen of the attack box here. Then open a terminal and follow the command that is given to us. So that is nmap, then the IP address, which is 10.49.166.73. Now, nmap is basically a tool called as network mapper used by mostly network administrators back in the day, but now mainly used by attackers to understand what a server or a network is hosting with the computers and their open ports. In our case, now when I use the command nmap and then the IP address of the target machine which I want to scan, I'm going to look at what and all are the services and the port numbers that is exposed by this IP address. And we can clearly see here that we get port 22 and port 80 to be open here. Now, port 22, you can even Google that on the web browser. What is port 22 used for? And that's generally for SSH service. Now, SSH is a secure shell which you can use for connecting to any remote server or you're hosting Linux machines for connecting and using the command line services. And that's what we can even see here. The service that is running on port 22 is SSH. Now, what about port 80? What is port 80 used for? From the Google search, we can see that it's generally used for unencrypted web traffic, mainly for hosting your own HTTP server, which is for web applications to be accessed by any end user. Now, these are the two ports which are open in this target machine. That's great. So, now, for an attacker, that is a valuable information. Now, because I want to see what and all are the services and ports are enabled on my target system before I actually understand what is that doing, right? The IP address alone doesn't say anything about the target system. I need to understand what services are enabled, what are the processes that the machine is doing. I want to basically figure out where are the places that I can try to possibly intrude into the target machine and exploit it. So nmap helps us to give a basic understanding from the outer perspective by checking what open holes are there in the wall such that we can try to penetrate inside it. That's what is happening here. It figured out port 22 and port 80 are enabled by the target server. And let's further exploit it by reading through this option here. The command scanned the top 1000 commonly used ports and reported if any services were running there. The only results you received are the opened SSH port for remote machine access and a HTTP port for a website. This means you can now access the server through SSH if you know the password, or open the website by visiting to this URL from within the attack box. Now, whenever attacker sees the port 22 and port 80, generally it would be the web application that we will try to go forward, because SSH generally requires you either two of these combinations. One is password based authentication or a key based authentication. In our case, we don't have any of those two things. We nor know the username or the password of the target machine so that we can connect it using SSH, nor do we have any authentication keys generated by SSH for remote logging into the server. We don't have any of those things. But the one common thing is port 80, which is generally for HTTP, and any HTTP application which is meant for hosting something would generally be accessible to all IP addresses present in that local network. In our case, because we're accessing the private IP address, or to the web page in the internet. So what we'll do is let's open this URL on our web browser and see what can we see there. So I'll go with 10.49.166.73 and press enter. I see something to be here. The best festive companies QA East Mus. Ours should be Sock Mus, not East Mus. Okay, it's also taking some time to load the web page. Let's click on that once again. And it says, oh, they have even scratched the logo of it. Pawned by Hopsec. Oh, that's a great thing. East must take over. Your QA server answers to Hopsec now. Its console is sealed with a lock only the best festive company can pick. I scattered 3 fragments of the past phrases across your own chaos. Find them, snitch the words together, speak them to the gate, and take your box back. You, if you can. King Malhare. Okay, so we can enter the key, I guess. Locked. Submit the full key to proceed. Okay. So I guess these are like the X which is there. Now, okay, that's the page is still loading. I don't know. Maybe the server seems to be a little too heavy. Anyway, let's continue reading till the page takes its own time to load to us completely. Scanning the whole range. It seems like the website is defaced by bad bunnies and we don't know the keys to enter the admin panel. But worry not. We scanned just 1000 ports, but there are actually 65535, which is 65,535 ports where other services can hide. Now let's add the P argument to scan all ports and script banner to see what's likely behind the port. Okay, now what we'll do is let's minimize this. While that's loading, let's open the terminal. Yes, the terminal here. And now let's also add some options, which is we want to scan for all the ports. Now, whenever we just pass in the command and the IP address, it just scans for the top 1000 ports, which is available in a sequential format. But what if I want to scan for all the 65,535 ports, which is there in the system? So we use a special command, which is -p. Now this could also be combined with just -80, and that's going to give us the only port 80 which is enabled on the system. But if we frame it like port, okay, that is by mistake. Yeah, now if I give in hyphen, it's going to scan for all the ports which is just present from 1 to 65,535 ports that can possibly be opened and be hosting some service on the target machine. So we will give that option. Along with, we want to also see what are the services that is running behind those ports. Now, by default, if you run a script scan and other scans, which maybe we'll talk about it later, but until unless we run those things, we will only identify what services are actually running by knowing the common ports that is given. Like, for example, port 22 is a common port number, so we know it's SSH. But in other cases, we also want to know if this service is running, what are the other information that it could be showcasing in any of these services that it's running. So we use something called as banner grabbing. Now, banner grabbing can be done in some different tools also, but Nmap also has the script which is called as banner. So we can use this to identify not just the service that is running, but also some other information that these services might be hosting. Just because you try to touch its service, it'll just show its other information. So we're using that script, and to use any script, we can use the option hyphen hyphen script is equal to and the script name. So let's press enter, and that should start scanning it. This might take some while, so let's take a break from it giving us the complete output. And we see here that it has given us the result. Now, if you look closely, it says unknown. That's the reason that this huge number of port number which is identified, I mean, in the sense not as a volume, but I mean as a term, to be like 25,251. That is a huge number. So that numbered port is not commonly used by any services. So in that cases, it's going to give us the service as unknown. That's where the banners help us. We can see in this case, it says the best festive company main TD, and it says type help for some commands, which means that it's something like an interactive port which helps us to run some commands there. That's the reason it gave us an output saying that type help for command. And we can also see another port here, which is SF and FTPD, which means that's it's running a file transfer protocol. That's a good port number that we identified. So generally we see port 22 and 80 to be present, but only with the option of -p hyphen. It's going to scan for all the possible ports between 65,000 number of ports. And we have identified these two new ports out of the machine. Let's continue reading, see what's given there for us. Looks like you have found a running FTP server and some custom the best festive company application. Even though the FTP runs on port 21 by default, which is, yeah, it's possible to change the port to any other one, such as 21212. Yeah, that's what is the port number here. Let's try accessing the FTP with the anonymous mode with the FTP command and see if we can find our way in. You can follow the command from the terminal here. So what we will do is we will open up another terminal. Let's click on this so that we can have our nmap output present there itself. And here, let's run the command ftp, which is a tool used for connecting into any FTP services. Now, if there was an FTP service on the local machine, I could have got it here. But let's exit from there and let's use the command ftp. Then pass in our target IP, which is what is the IP here? That's FTP 10.49.166.73. Then the port in which this service is running. By default, it's port 21. But in our case, they have changed the port to be 21212 and press enter. Now, by default, if there is any username that is assigned to this FTP service, we would have to have entered the username and the password of this. But in FTP, there is also another option of anonymous login, wherein there is no password as such required for connecting into the service. We can just connect to it using an anonymous as the username. By default, whenever you're installing FTP, that asks you whether you want to enable or disable anonymous. By default, the option is to disable it. But in some cases, anonymous logins are enabled. In In that case, we can also browse into the files without requiring any such kind of credentials into the FTP server. Let's do the same thing. Let's pass in our username to be anonymous and press enter. It's going to say login successful, which means we have access to the FTP server. FTP is nothing but file transfer protocol used for sharing and accessing files, and we have access to that server. That's great. Let's go further. It says, good job finding the first flag part. Oh, there's a flag here. Then let's look at it. We see we have a file called as FTP. It's the directory basically. So let's go into it. No, we also see this. This is the file. I'm sorry. This is the file here. It says the best festive company QA key 1. So let's get that using the get command. The tbfc underscore qa underscore key 1. Press enter. Port command successful. Consider opening binary data. Transfer completed. Okay, that's good. So now let's exit from FTP, or instead of exiting, let's open it here itself. Using the command ls, we can list the contents that is present in the directory, and we see we have the file which we just downloaded from the FTP server. So let's use the cat command, cat tbfc. I'll press tab so that it auto completes the rest of the file name. Pressing enter, we get the key there. So let's copy this key, and from the clipboard, let me also copy it here. Open a text editor, and using the text editor, I'll just save the key there. Let me also zoom in so that you can see what the key is. Or you're not supposed to see the key? I'm not sure. If it's not required, I'll just blur that. Okay, now let's go here. Good job finding the first flag. There is nothing more we can see on the FTP server. So let's move on to the custom the best festive company app on port 25251. Is there actually nothing in this file other than, let's just see. I forgot to just see that. Just open this one. Yeah, ls, and yeah, it is just one directory and a file that is present here. So there's nothing much that we can do. Let's click on exit or type in exit, and that's going to exit. Okay, now continue reading. So let's move on to the custom the best festive company app on port 25251. Since it is not a well-known service like HTTP or FTP, your web browser FTP client won't know how to access it. Luckily, you can always use netcat, or short NC, it's a command, a universal tool to interact with network services. So let's run that. I'll have the command side by side so we can look at it. So NC, it's a network command. Now if I just type in the IP address of 10.49.166.73 and say port 80, press enter. And if we could interact with the machine, if it just comes and connects to this, in this case 80 would not do it. What about 22? It just says the banner and it just grabs and try to communicates with that service. So with port 22, we can see it's running SSH port 2.0 and OpenSSH 9.6 PS1. We can see it's a Ubuntu 3, Ubuntu 13.14, and all those information which we get from the banners of it. Now, similarly, what we can do is we can pass in the port of 25251 and also specify the option -v coming here. Now -v, why is it used? We can open the other terminal and look at the man or the manual of any tool that is present. Let's click on this and say man and see. That's going to give us the list of the manuals that is present for any tool that is present in Linux. So what does -v do? It sets the routing table to be used or produces more verbose output. I guess it's small v so that we get the live output. Like verbose is nothing but giving the live output of any command. So we want to use that option of -v to see more output from this port number. So pressing enter, it says connection to this port was succeeded. The best festival company maintained. Okay, I don't know what that is. Zero words version 0.2. Type help for the command. Let's type help and says help status get key and quit. Okay, what does status say? Click on status. It says armed for 36 seconds port 25251. Okay, and what does get key say? Press enter. It gave us the key. Okay, that's good. So in other cases, it could even be some command line interfaces where we could directly interact with the system. Who knows? So let's copy that and let's copy it from the clipboard here. I'll just dump in all the keys right here. Are we supposed to also have it like key one? If that's the case, let's also add it for this. So key one and then this thing there. Easter 15, I don't know what is 15. One is Easter is the best. I don't know. It says Easter. I can read that 3 is E. Then 15 is IS. The Easter is the best. I'm not sure. Okay, so now let's continue with reading here. Once you have received the key, press Ctrl C to exit. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's be fancy. Let's use quit and see what's going to happen. Yeah, it says bye. Okay, yeah, and we exit from the tool there. The TCP and UDP ports. Congratulations on the second flag. But where to look for the third one? Till now, you have scanned only TCP ports, but there are also 65,535 ports for UDP. Yeah, so each of these are protocols which we use. TCP is a three-way handshake, and UDP is just like I'll dump. Okay, you'll find a lot of memes about TCP and UDP on LinkedIn or on X or even on Discord. So let's not get into too much of networking protocols right now, but UDP is also another kind of communication which servers and applications use. Mainly UDP is used for anything like videos and photos, or basically for videos. Now not photos use TCP also, but something like that. Now let's not get deep into it. Let's stick on to the room here. Other transfer protocol, and there is a chance HopSec secrets are hiding there too. You can switch to UDP scan by specifying SU as the flag there. So that's the command present for us. What we do is let's go up, and instead of all those ports number, let's just modify the command here with option SU. That's going to use the UDP protocol for scanning the server. Let's press enter. Not for the netcat. I want it for the nmap. Nmap, press enter. That's going to start scanning for all the UDP services. Let's start reading here. It says after a minute you should see an open port for 53 associated with DNS. Yes, and we also see that right here. Now DNS is domain name control, or DNS, domain name service. I'm sorry, it's called as domain name service, which is used for assigning names to any of the IP addresses. All the names which you see, like the google.com or tryhackme.com, they are all associated to an public IP address. Now that public IP address is very difficult for us to remember. So what we came up is a solution of converting names like something that we can remember, tryhackme or google.com, into the IP address. So whenever we search for tryhackme.com, it's going to point to that IP address which is publicly accessible, and we can access it. So that is generally hosted using 53 as the port number on UDP services. It can also be hosted on TCP services, but yeah, so it's hosted on the domain as the service there. A protocol that drives the modern web by connecting domains to IPs and many more. DNS is a complex topic and many secrets can hide there. But let's just ask the DNS server if it knows the key by using dig, a command to perform advanced DNS queries. Yeah, dig is used for way more than just asking for keys. You can even look for the URLs, subdomains, and many more in it. So let's copy the command which I just took from the web browser, paste it into the clipboard, and press it into the terminal here. So what we can see here is that it's dig at what IP address we want to use or in which IP address the server is hosted. It says text, which means that we know that it's the text file which is open there. Or let's open the manual. I'm not sure. I don't remember the dig command line. So dig help txt means something other than text, I guess. Man of dig and search for txt. There's nothing, right? Okay, that means it's text itself. I'm right about it then. So key dot the best festive company dot local plus short. Now, how did they get in all these things? I'm not sure. So let's just go in the flow. Let's press enter, and it gave us the key there. So maybe there's some text file which is having all these contents. So we get the third flag there. Let's copy it, and from the clipboard, let's also copy it and replace it here. I mean, I append it there. So we see that Easter is the new Xmas. That's rude. Easter is the new Xmas. Okay, I can see the evil intentions of the bunnies there. Now continue reading. It says on host service discovery. Now that you know all three keys of the best festive company dev qa01 qa server, it's time to call your best festive company teammates and kick out the bad bunnies. But first, log into the server's admin panel by visiting to this URL that we already have in our web browser here. Is it the same IP address? Yes, it's the same IP address. From within the attack box and access the secret admin console by submitting the combined keys. Let's click on enter keys. It's maybe going to ask us for uh, maybe there's a window which pops up. Let's see. Okay, so the machine was taking too much time. So let's come here and replace that. So combine the three parts into that as the command. So what I will do is I will copy, then copy this too, which is the second key, paste it there, the third key, paste it there, copy the entire key, copy that, paste it here, click on unlock. Yes, it's a correct key. Terminal is now available. Let's go to the terminal here and press enter to reconnect. Press enter to reconnect. Okay, I'm pressing enter itself. Did my VPN just go down? Seems like no. Okay, so I just terminated that previous machine and then started a new machine, so that that was giving me some error. Now, if I type who am I see it says the best festive company app, and what are the files here? It says nothing, but which means that we have got access to the secret admin console. Sorry, not console, which is interesting. Which means we can run any command in the server there. So now let's continue reading this. It says listening ports. Once you have access to the console, there is no need to scan the ports, as you can simply ask the OS to list its open ports. Also call it listening ports. You can also do it by running ss-tunpl or netstat on older systems. Now let's run this command and see what are the service that is running there. So pressing enter, and we see a bunch of services that is running along with some port numbers that is open for the server to listen from. We can see port 53, port 8000, and all these services which is just enabled. Now 000 dot this is exposed to the entire network. Anyone can access it, but in cases of 127.0.1, it's only limited for internal machines to access it only, so no external systems can use those ports. Now let's continue reading and see what's there for us. Inside the secret admin console of the web app, in the output, you may see exactly the same services you scanned before listening on 000, but also some listening on 127.0.0.1 available only from the host itself. And we did see that there. With the root permissions, you can also view the process column. However, for now, let's focus on 3306. What's there in 3306 here? Yes, 3306. It's just listening on TCP port there. Let's go here, which is the default MySQL database port. Usually, databases require a password for remote clients, but allow authentication logins from local host. Since you already inside the host, let's see the database connect content by using MySQL program. Okay, so let's run that command here. MySQL, press enter, and we get access to the MySQL there. Now, if you're new to MySQL, don't worry, it's not that overwhelming. It's just fun to uh, be with the database and interact with it. So we have a couple of commands. First thing, we can see what are all the databases that is present in. So show databases, then pressing, okay, there's some syntax error. So databases, that's going to list all the list of databases which is present in the database there. We can see a database called as tbfcqa01. So let's what are we doing here in the challenge? So it's going to just show the tables, right? Okay, now what we can do here and use the database. Now we want to use it, so we can use the command use, then the database name. So tbfcqa01, press enter. Now we have moved into the database. We want to look at what are all the tables present inside the database. So we use show tables, then the semicolon. It shows as a table called as flags. Now I want to see what are all the contents which is present inside the flags table. So I can use the command select star from, then the table name, which is flags in our case. Pressing enter, it gives one column which is called as ID, the other column which is called as flag, and we get the flag there. So let's copy the flag so that we don't miss out the required information. Let's copy that and save it in the text editor. As per the challenge, we can submit the flag later. Let me copy that once again. Does this not get copied? Now that's bad if it doesn't get copied. Paste from browser or paste from browser. Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. So it's bad luck to us. Okay. We'll come back to it later then. That's fine. So we get our flag there. Great job on finding the flag. You have exposed all Bunny's secret and regained full access to the QA server. Now it's time to secure all ports and restore the SOC mask preparation pipeline. But for now, answer the questions below to finish the task. What evil message do you see on the top of the website? Is it East Mass? Okay, I guess that's it. So it's but the format seems to be a little off. What evil message do you see on the top of the website? This is the website. Oh, this is the thing. Okay, okay. Let's copy this, paste it there. Check. Yes, that's right. What is the first key part found on the FTP server? We have the key here. So let's copy the key with E and paste it there. Check. That's right. What is the second part of the key that is found? So let's copy that, paste it and check it. What is the third key that is found from the DNS record? Let's copy that, paste it there, check. What port was MySQL database running on, which is 3306. Press enter. What is the final flag that you found from the database? Now I found the flag, but I'm not able to copy the flag. Oh, I'm able to copy it now. That's good. Come here, paste it there. Now I'll paste it on the text editor. Can I? Oh, that did it. Okay, fine. Check. Yes, you enjoyed the room. Feel free to check out the nmap, the basic room. Okay, so let's click on check. And yeah, so we have finished the day 7 of Advent of Cyber, saving Mixed Kitties Village Werewolf from East Must's imposition of celebrating their sock mass kind of thing. This is called as East Must. With that, we have finished the day 7. Now excited for the day 8 of Advent of Cyber. So I'll meet you all on the day 8 of Advent of Cyber. Till then, stay happy, stay smiling. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.